Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Claire Jones. If we haven't already met, I'm an author and small publisher committed to changing the world for the better through inclusive stories and practices. And we are jumping on today for my Authorvision Facebook Live series where I interview the amazing and inspiring women and authors in my network to discuss the personal visions that have shaped our lives and careers. If you're joining us, please like, comment, share below. Let us know that you're here. And today I'm talking to Elle. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I feel like
Great
you're
to be here.
everywhere. Everywhere online I look, you show up. So let's jump right on in. Tell me your backstory. How did you get to where you are today?
I am originally from a country called Kazakhstan. That's where I was born physically, and I came here about 22 years ago. Right now, I am in a beautiful California area. And yeah, have an experience. My professional kind of life started in a corporate world. I used to be in oil and gas field, and then I moved on to software. And then I finished that. I kind of graduated from that, got a great experience, and then now that I'm building my own company, I'm applying all of that I've learned, and as well as discovering all this new, exciting things that come up in the journey of entrepreneurship, right? Learning and embracing. But yeah, that's kind of a nutshell,
Yeah.
who I am and yeah, where I come
Yeah,
from.
tell me about your books. How did you get to authorship in that
Yeah.
capacity?
You know, I it was I was speaking to someone actually who is in the field of publishing books. And when I launched Women of the World Network, um in 19, we are actually turning 5 years old in March, which is very
Congrats.
exciting. We are celebrating it. And when I was having a conversation with a publisher, that was the idea that came, through that conversation, why don't we publish these books? I'm like, you know what, that's a great idea. So we could feature stories. And so we've decided to publish about one book a year. And we are working on our book number 4 now, and this is multi-author bestseller series. What distinguishes us is we cover different countries as well. And if you look at our books, each one of our books has different flags. Um, to celebrate countries that women are from, of course, Women of the World Network. And so all of our books became international bestsellers in several countries on Amazon. Some of them, 40 categories. I'm looking at our recent one. We are working on our book number 4, which is dedicated to women in business. Our book number 3 was published last year, that was dedicated to women and money and energy of life. And so each book has a theme around it. It has different countries, different stories of women. Yeah, it's just a beautiful compilation of women's stories. And so I'm so thankful for that conversation that happened a few years ago where that idea was born. And now we have over 45 women who are international best-selling authors. So I'm celebrating that as well.
And what has been the response like from readers? Like, what kind of impact are you seeing out there with these kinds of books?
Yeah, we had great response. Some of the feedback was the discovery, and I think the stories of women from struggle to winning, overcoming, right? Um, a lot of them are very personable stories. Our first book was actually called Women of the World, and they just shared their stories of anything and everything in life that they were, struggling with. So those were not business related. Those were really life related. Some of them were business related, but it was just a general compilation. That was our first multi-author book. Yeah, we got great feedback. And I think what really differentiates them again, that authenticity and that just diversity of stories, that just very diverse stories from different backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, cultural upbringings, countries, and I mean, they all in English, they're written in English, but the countries of origin are different, right? So, yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And like, what was the vision that kept you going along the way? Like, what was that North Star guiding you? Was it to share these stories with the world?
Yeah, so my big vision for launching Women of the World Network, and now I'm also launching the Free, Fulfilled, and Fabulous cohort, which is a deeper dive into mind and body, and I bring the dancing part of it there as well. But really, my big vision is just to empower women worldwide so that we all live in full freedom, full fabulousness, and full fulfillment. So not only doing the work we love, but also getting paid for it fully, whatever that means, right? And on the other side of it, not only getting paid, but doing the work we love, right? I think Tony Robbins said success without fulfillment is a failure. And I am fully on board with that. Like, it's so important for me to do the work that we love doing, that we wake up in the morning, every morning, that ikigai concept, if you're familiar from Japan, right? We wake up every morning and we love, like, we want to do the work we want to do. And that's a big one for me. So behind all of this is that vision of helping empower women, helping share their stories, elevate everybody together. Because so we all elevate each other, and we all come, whatever the goals, whatever the life goal is, whatever the business goal is, getting to that, overcoming all the obstacles that are holding us back, overcoming all the programming. And because we are so international, there are so many cultural, thing that, women come from, right? Born with, and all of those things. So that's kind of my vision for what I'm doing.
Was that the initial spark that took you from like working from t in tech to having your own network company? Like, what was the experience or the insight that compelled you to go in that direction?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, my own story, and I briefly mentioned that I come from a different country. So starting from point zero, three times in my life, first was personal transition in my personal life. In my early 20s. Second was in my late 20s, the country transition where I have to move. And I built a very good career for myself back in my country. And so leaving that behind is not easy, right? Where you kind of like you build everything for yourself, and then you come to this new environment where nobody knows you, and you have to rebuild that. Um, again, so that was number two. And number three is really this transition from being an employee in organization to
Hmm.
an entrepreneur, leading
Hmm.
my own organization. And so those three transitions in my life kind of prompted this to share that with women and to bring that to the world. And I didn't know, no, I knew that I want to be in business for myself. That I knew. But the vision came later, what exactly, how it's going to be, and what it's going to be, how it's going to be shaped, based on my own experiences. That kind of was born later. Um, I had a small company back when I was in my country, and I just really loved discovering this whole world of entrepreneurship for
Hmm.
myself. And that's kind of where that started from. But the full vision, the what I really want to do, what is it that I really want to bring, what is it that I want exactly what I want to share based on my own experiences and life, you know, um, journeys, right? And that's kind of what's shaped later on.
Hmm. Because we hear so many stories about, tech being a very men-dominated industry.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if like you were influenced by that. Like, did you see the need for more women collaboration from that environment?
Yeah. I think that part, oil and gas is very heavily male dominated. It was actually, I want to say more so than tech from what I saw. Um, from the time where I was in oil and gas. Yeah, I definitely wanted to see more women achieving and growing in professional world, not only in business, right? Like in professional, if she chooses to build that career, um, definitely for her to grow for herself and really have that personal growth, whatever her goal is. We all manage so many different things, family and kids and having partnerships. And so however she decides to shape that life, along with that, what brings her joy in her professional life, whether it's business or career, that's what kind of what I'm after. Um, yeah, and coming from again, the cultural aspect of it, like different cultures, because cultures are so strong seated in us. I have my own personal story when it comes to freedom. And when I say freedom, I mean inner freedom as well as outer freedom, because our outer freedom depends on our inner freedom. We have to free ourselves inside first before we achieve that in the outer world. And I have my personal story actually with my own family that dates back to my grandparents. And that's where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
As well as, yeah, so the FFF, it's true, it's just shaped itself based on all of that, the
Mm-hmm.
fabulous that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
there was a sense of like being trapped within these cultural systems I'm sensing here.
Yeah, yeah, and also, yeah, and along those lines, being like grown up in, it's Central Asia geographically, right? So it's different
Mm-hmm.
norms for women, even though now it's different. I left that country 22 years ago, and I'm so happy, like I'm working with women there now. It's a different world now, which is so great to see uh to me, because it used to be different. And so those kind of norms, but when we grew up with that, we kind of have to have that realization ourselves, because until we get to that point here, we cannot really do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, and so that comes from that as well, the upbringing
Mm-hmm.
of it, and seeing women in my culture, and yeah, all that.
We've talked a little bit about lessons so far, but were there any other big lessons that you've learned along the way?
Oh yeah, there are so many, so many. I think the big one big one is I had to learn to compare myself to myself, who I was yesterday.
Mm.
Because we see all the stories on, especially with the social media, right? We see all the stories, and it's all about, you see a lot of people winning, and we want to compare ourselves, or we want to see like why I am behind, because there is this automatic assumption that I am behind because I'm not there yet, I must be behind. And so just realizing we never know the story behind that. We never know what that person had to go through, and we don't really know what that person is going through at that very moment, right? Like I myself don't like to share my personal things that I'm going through at the moment. It's just my character. It's not because I don't have those. And so, and we all have that, people have that. So when we see something, it's important not to jump into any assumptions. The other big thing for me is if really just focusing on what I want.
Mm.
Again, because of the outside voices that can influence that, it can just deter us from our own path that is meant for us. Um, and I think it's just important staying focused on that, whatever
Mm.
I am after. Um,
Yeah, because outside voices can be so loud, and we
uh,
can get so persuaded by them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And just having that, like, just really that path in front of me and that end goal in front of me, and focusing on that. Everything else aside, I think that's important
Hmm.
to keep reminding, ourselves of what is it I'm after. And yeah, and you know, there are so many wonderful coaches and
Mm,
mentors out there, right? But they you know, depending on what advice to listen to, that's another thing. There's so many lessons, right? But just, you know that you listen to the advice of the person that you can, the story you can relate to, right? And all of those things I think will help, because sometimes I've learned that there's different advice coming at us, right? Do this and do this and okay. And so we have to really filter that through our own lens, through our own experience, and yeah, and just follow wise, follow wisdom.
mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you do that? Like, what are the tips that you have for our audience for doing that?
I I learned to relate to somebody who has a similar story to me. Um, Someone who I want to work with people who have done the journey, right? In practice. Because I myself, like when I finished MBA business school, all of that is theory. It's great knowledge.
Yeah.
Until I went through the actual business building experience, I didn't really grasp what I learned.
Yeah.
And so everything is like we learn it in practice when we actually do it. Um, and I think for me, I want to make sure I am working with somebody who has done that path, who walked that walk, who did that talk, who talked that talk, right? That they are talking about. So that's important for me.
Yeah. I call my first business my crash course MBA program.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. For me, it was direct sales. That was a great experience. It was just really great business school for me.
Hmm. I always joke that going into business is the fastest way to do your shadow work,
Mhm.
because your shadows are going to be put up on pedestals. Like, they're going to become blatantly obvious when you go into business for yourself, and you either have to address them or go back to being an employee.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think to me, that's the most wonderful thing about being an entrepreneur. It's not an easy at all, right? Journey. It has so many different things, but I think the most beautiful thing about it at the end of the day is who I am becoming. And that's to me, that's what I enjoy, right? Like who I'm becoming during this journey, rediscovering myself, overcoming my own self-limiting beliefs that sit in me, that I've been, opening up, like, wow, am I actually thinking that way? Like, those kind of things. To me, that's the most beautiful thing about entrepreneurship.
Hmm. Are there any everyday practices or everyday tools that you used along the way?
Yeah. So my mornings routine, I think, is so important. So important time for myself. It's important for me to be in silence for a little bit of, how many minutes. My goal is 10, 15 minutes a day. Um, just being me with me. And yeah, just reminding myself what I'm after again, what my big goal is, and really choosing my battle. I think somebody said, I don't remember that quote exactly, but like choosing what you want to fight for that day, right? Like there's so many things. Again, there's so much information out there. There's so much that we can do. But when we are going through the day and we're choosing what to do, what task to do, what program to sign up for, even what clients you want to work with, right? Like, do I want to work with this client? Do I want to do this? And so choosing that really helps me to get to where I'm going. Everything else aside. I think that would be the big one.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. I have to spend at least 20 minutes every morning daydreaming.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I
Yeah.
definitely do that exercise for
Yeah, it's
sure.
like me and my cup of coffee, and I just like stare out the window, and it's not like I'm trying to solve a certain problem or I'm thinking about a certain topic, but I just let my mind wander and I get my juiciest ideas during that period.
It's so amazing how when we quiet this noise, we actually can hear our own voice because we are so busy. If, it's just a lot of things that we are doing, and there is no time to. Sometimes for me, it's in the shower actually because of the outside noise. There is no
Mm-hmm.
outside noise, so I can hear myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with that. Yeah, I get the insight too. And if just 5 minutes, taking 5 minutes a day to visualize that life with everything, with sound, with smell, everything, imagining with all the senses.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
what's yeah, it's been
Hmm.
wonderful.
I think there's like a time and place to do the internal reflection where you have that focused attention on your goals, and then the internal reflection of you just letting your mind wander too at the same time. Like you have to have both the controlled and uncontrolled internal environment.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah, how powerful we are, how powerful our minds are.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, anything else you want to add before we start wrapping up?
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you for having me today. This was great conversation. If anybody wants to check our books in your audience who are listening today, they can go to Women of the World Network in our programs, and that's where we list all of our books. They can get a copy for themselves as well. And if they want to participate in the next one, definitely welcome to reach out. There will be an email there as well. But yeah, I'm excited to be speaking with you today, Claire. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is why I have the series is because we're talking about these powerful topics, these powerful motivations that we have that drove us to where we are today. And audience, we definitely encourage you to share your own thoughts and feelings and stories and insights with us as well. We'd love to know how journeys and visions like these have shaped you in your own lives and careers. So special thanks to Elle for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So
Thank you
please
so much.
like, comment, subscribe, check out Linktree/Claire for all of my links. And then where can folks find out more about you?
ellballard.com.
Excellent. And I'll make sure it's available in all the descriptions for easy access. And until next time, please remember that you all have extraordinary stories to share, and I'm rooting for you
Yes.
as you use them to change the world for the better. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire.